everyone, so today I'm going to be doing my ultimate guide to bronzing, blushing, and highlighting. And this is an important video because a lot of YouTube videos out there assume that you know everything there is to any makeup basic. Again, if you already know what bronzing is, blushing is, and highlighting, I suggest you skip this video because it is really for beginners and people who really don't know exactly what to do when it comes to those three things. So first thing I'm going to talk about is bronzer and contouring. Contouring is basically when you can slim down your face and to accentuate your features, and that's important because makeup allows you to sort of shift or shape the way your face looks, and it's really important to know how because it's kind of useful. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. And you need a bronzer. So contour, you need a face powder that is 2 or 3 shades darker, or you can use a bronzer. I like to use the NARS Lunar bronzer, which is really expensive in Australia, but in US it's about $36. You can't get it in Singapore yet because NARS hasn't come yet. But another alternative is the Hoola by Benefit bronzer, and this is cool because it looks like this. It's pretty much the perfect shade of brown. You can check out my review that I've already made. I like this bronzer because it's a matte bronzer, and that's pretty important when you're contouring because you don't want an over shimmer thing. Next thing you need is a brush, and I suggest having a small brush for contouring because you need to fit into sort of the shape of your features and your face, and using a smaller brush works perfectly. So you can either use an angled brush just like this, but I use this for blush, or you can use the MAC 109, and that is a small sort of round brush that is perfect for contouring. I like this for contouring most. You can also use sort of brushes that are big and fluffy but have a sort of smaller tip like that. That's also good for contouring. Anything that looks like it can fit into the hollows of your cheek. Where in the world do you contour? Very simple, you contour in an E shape. So you start from the temples and then you work your way to the hollows of your cheek and then to your jawline. And then you also contour on the other side. This makes your face a lot slimmer and also creates the hollow sort of high cheekbone effect and also accentuates your jawline. Now you also might want to contour in this area. A lot of Asians also like to contour and slimify their nose. You can use that by using a smaller blending brush because this is kind of big and this is kind of big, and you definitely don't want to get any contour powder on this area because that's going to flatten your nose and it's not going to look so pretty. A lot of people like to use a blending eye brush to slimify their nose, and you can also sort of apply the bronzer in this area. Now you'll see that a lot of bronzers are really big, or they come with really big brushes. That's because a lot of people use contouring for their body. And not only can you use it to slimify your face, you can also accentuate this area. So in case you want cleavage, which is, if you want cleavage, you can also accentuate your area, that area. You can also accentuate your collarbone in this area to make yourself look slimmer as well. So contouring is a really, really good trick, and I'll show you exactly how you do it in this tutorial. To explain is blush. And blush is basically my favorite sort of makeup product because I love putting it on. It really brightens up your face, kicks the dullness away, and brings a flush to your cheeks. So my favorite blush currently is the NARS Deep Throat, and this is what it looks like. I'll show you a NARS blush collection because I do have one, but that will be a later video. And this is a beautiful light pink color. This is great for fair skinned people and also even a little darker than that. But it's a beautiful pink shimmer with a little silver glitter, but you don't really see the glitter. It's just a beautiful flush to your cheeks that you naturally get. It's very natural as well, and the pigmentation is just perfect. So I really like NARS blushes because they do stay a long time. They're one of my favorite. Another favorite I have are the MAC Sheer Tone blushes, especially Pink Swoon, because that really does bring a really nice flush to the cheeks as well. Now there are a lot of kinds of blushes in addition to bronzers and highlight, a lot of different types. Your cream blushers, and you also have your powder blushes. Personally, I really like my powder blushes because I like to put powder foundation powder on, and you always have to remember that when you have a cream foundation on, you definitely want to set it with a powder, and you don't want to put a cream blusher on a powdered face because that cakes up the blush, makes it look unnatural. So make sure you always remember this rule: liquid on liquid, cream on cream, and powder on powder. So if you've just powdered your face with a powder foundation, you need to apply a powder blush. If you want to use a cream blush, however, and you like that dewy look, have your foundation on, which is a liquid foundation, and then put on your blusher or your liquid blusher or whatever blusher you have, and then powder your face to set everything on. So make sure you know that rule: cream on cream, liquid on liquid, and powder on powder. So another thing that I have to mention about blush is that you really have to be careful because you don't want to put too much, and it really matters where exactly you put the blush, because you don't want to look like a clown. And a lot of people, just concentrate on the apples of your cheek, but you actually have to work the blush upwards towards the tip of your ear, and that creates an even nicer contouring effect because it's right above your bronzer, and it sort of blends in the bronzer and the blush so it looks more natural, and that's what you want at the end, a more natural flush, because it looks like you're naturally flushing. I like to use a variety. There's a bunch of blush brushes out there, anything that fits your cheek, but two ones that I really like are from MAC, of course, because I really like MAC brushes. I think they're very high quality. Not very high quality, but they're high quality enough for me, and I like just using them. So the first one is the MAC 116, and this is one of my favorite ones, and this is a sort of small goat hair bristle brush, but I like this because it's small, and that means you can sort of pat the blush specifically where you like it. So for example, I have this cheek right here. This is the area where you want to put the blush, right there. So fill it in, and this is good because you can pat it specifically. Blush brushes that are too big, I have to sweep it up, and sometimes I sweep, the blush goes here or the blush goes there, and it goes on the wrong place, and that's really important that you don't do that because you can look funny. So with this one, I can just pat it specifically where I need to, where I think the blush should go, which is right there, and also right there, but I don't, make any errors of putting the blush right here or the powder going there and blah blah blah. So getting a small one is really important. You can also use an angled brush, and people like to use angled brushes for contouring. They also like to use it for blush. I personally like to use something like this for blush because it's very fluffy. This is the MAC 168, which is the white hair bristled brush, and I like to use this if I need to buff my blush in. Say I have very, very pigmented blush, and the minute I put it on, it sort of stains my cheek. You need to be able to have a fluffy enough brush so that you can buff the blush onto your cheek, and so you won't have any marks on your cheek, which is really important that you don't have. I like to use the MAC 168 particularly with the Bobbi Brown shimmer bricks, because with the shimmer brick you have the shimmer and you want sort of round cheek. You want to round it off and you want to buff it into your skin because it will give you that glow. Blush is not that complicated. A lot of people are like, Roseanne, you're making this too complicated. All you have to do is put it on, but putting it on really nicely does give you that really nice flush effect, but it also helps contour. So it's really important that people get it right. People put too much sometimes, they look like clowns, so make sure you don't do that. And it's really important that you get the right color. So this is another aspect of blush that some people don't know, is that if you are a darker skin tone, actually, you might not want to go for Hoola by Benefit because this is a matte bronzer. And if you're a darker skin tone, it can look sort of dull and matte and ashy. So you might want to go with a little shimmer like the NARS Laguna or the NARS Casino if you're a darker skin tone, and that will suit you a lot better than, say, the Hoola by Benefit. But if you're a fair skin tone, say NC30 and below, the Hoola by Benefit matte bronzers are great for you. So make sure you know your skin tone. If you're darker, you might look ashy with matte bronzers, but you might want to have a little shimmer, but not too much that you can't see a contour when you apply the contour. As for blush, if you are, say, a darker skin tone, actually peachy or orange blushers look good on you, as well as sort of the darker pinks or fuchsias. So because you have a darker skin tone, if you have a lighter skin tone, you can go for the light pink. Anything in that matter, anything, sort of light pink that will give you a really nice pink blush. You also have to be careful if you are a yellow skin tone or a pink skin tone or a yellow undertone, because if you're a yellow undertone, you don't want to go for a cool tone blush, and that's sort of like the Maxwell dress. That's a cool tone blush. It can make you look ashy. So you have to pick the right pinks for you, and it's really important that you might try the blush at the store before you purchase it, especially if they are pricey blushes, because you don't want to make the wrong mistake and get the wrong one. Figure out what your undertone color, if you're a yellow or pink undertone, and then if you have a dark or light skin tone, because the color of your blush really matters. And if you don't put the right color on, you look, it looks unnatural, it looks fake. Hopefully you got those things into consideration. You can replay the video if you don't know what I'm talking about. But here is a tutorial on how you should do your blush. The last thing, highlighting. So highlighting comes in basically two forms of highlight. There's powder highlighters and there's liquid highlighters. Of course there's cream, there's whatever people have come up with, but those are the two main highlighters. And the best highlighters that I have used are, I have two for you. And I have the YSL Touche Éclat, which is my newfound favorite. I love this so much because it really does a good job highlighting your cheekbones, but also can hide under eye circles. One of my favorites. And the next one is the Shiseido WT905, and this is a great powder highlighter which looks like this. It comes with a squirrel brush, which is a great handy brush to have because it really does fit into where it needs to fit, and it's very soft because this is probably one of the best in-package brushes I have ever used. So I will show you exactly what I mean by highlighting. Now when you highlight, again, it really matters what skin tone you are, what undertone you are, because if you are a pink undertone, you might want to stray away from the yellow sort of gold, like the NARS Albatross, and go towards highlighters with a sort of silver glitter in them. These two, I think, work best with any sort of undertone because they're very neutral. But a lot of, highlighters have either, the silver shimmer in it, or they have the white-ish, bluish shimmer in it, or they have the yellow goldish shimmer in it. So if you're yellow undertone, you might want to stray here. If you're pink undertone, silver, bluish is fine for you. A lot of, Korean cosmetics have the blue sort of undertone. I really don't like it. I've tried it on my skin. I'm a yellow undertone, as you can see. The blue, the silver sort of shimmers really come out unnatural for me. So really categorize your undertone because you can pick your colors from there and it just comes out for a more natural sort of looking complexion. Apply these with a smaller brush. So you want to go like something like this, but you want to use a tip. This brush is probably perfect for highlighting because it's very small, very flat as well, because you want to sort of fit into that area, fit into this area. And highlighting is great because you can really lift your face and add light. So you want to place your highlight where the light hits your face the most. You want to place your bronzer or contour where you think the light sort of sinks into your face or the shadows occur. So with highlighting, it really helps to lift your face up, to add light, to add a nice glow. And a lot of people are scared, because I was initially scared about highlighting because I didn't know whether highlighting would make me look oily, make me look gross, and I wanted sort of a matte finish. Okay, that comes with the different types of highlighters. If you have oily skin, you probably want to go with a powder highlighter and then set with a powder over it. It still gives you the light, but it gives you a muted light, and that's what you want. A muted, subtle light that adds sort of dimension to your face but doesn't give you the oily glow. Again, if you have oily skin, it really can't be helped. It's not something you can stop, so you do have to keep oil blotting sheets with you or a MAC blot powder or something like that when you go out, because you always want to make sure that you have sort of a muted glow and not an overly oily glow. You want to start with your cheekbones, and you want to highlight your cheekbones because it lifts the cheekbones, and everyone wants those high angled cheekbones, so that really helps you. Also brightens up the under area, especially here as well, and that, you know, when the light shines, you can really see sort of a glow. I do have a highlight on, and you can see that there is a glow in this area. You also want to add a point to your chin, so you can also add the highlight to, you know, the tip of your chin, and that sort of protrudes your chin out, which is really nice. And you must blend the highlight as always, and blend it until you do have that natural finish, because sometimes people put way too much highlight in this area. It looks like, you know, they have, you know, white goggles on, and that looks really gross. So make sure you blend it out, make sure it looks natural and it suits you. Also, you want to put the highlight in the brow bone in this area as well. That makes, you know, the arc higher and, you know, more angled. And you can also put it on the bridge of your nose. That slimmifies your nose along with the contouring powder that you placed here. So I have included a map towards the end of the video. Check that video out, but first check out my highlighting video. Okay, so I hope that has cleared up sort of the air about blushing, bronzing, contouring, or highlighting, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!